Hello everyone and welcome to the OpenLM Engineering Conference. My name is Branislav Potoček and I've been working as the Software Asset Manager and License Specialist for Adient for several years. Among my core responsibilities belong tracking, analyzing, cataloging and approving all software purchases, utilizing our software asset management and OpenLM tools to provide analysis on the usage of software by the company, and I also take care of all of our engineering software maintenance renewals. Let me introduce Adient as well. Adient is the world's leading developer and manufacturer of car seats. With offices spanning the globe and tens of thousands of employees, I'm sure you can imagine how complex and diverse our software portfolio is. In fact, sometimes I feel we actually use all the applications in the world. It's a feeling that some of you may find very familiar. Since I'm starting as the second speaker today, I decided to aim my presentation at some of the basics of software asset management and detail some of the best practices we learned as we implemented our software asset management solution. So, the key topics I would like to discuss today are centrally managed software solution, how to best govern software inside the corporation, reactive to proactive software asset management, ensuring the right way to approach SAM, and last but not least, engineering software asset management, how to manage engineering software, engineering licenses within your SAM solution. The quote I have chosen for today is coming from Henry Ford, one of the early luminaries of manufacturing process, which I find is still very much relevant in today's world and also relevant when it comes to discussing software asset management. Coming together is a beginning, keeping together is a progress, and working together is success. So, how do these smart words apply to your SAM? Working as a software asset manager inside a company, especially inside a big corporation, means that you have to rely on many different people to succeed. It is crucial to build proper working relationships, and is one of the first things I would suggest you do. Nothing makes your day at the office easier as when your colleagues know and understand your role and trust you. Centrally managed software asset management, governance of software inside the corporation. Alright, let's start with topic number one. So, how do you start with software asset management? Well, obviously, and this may sound a bit on the nose, but I did feel the need to say it anyway, please manage your software. Don't let it run wild. Even though it may seem really simple or unimportant at the beginning, I mean, what could go wrong, right? We buy, we use, sometimes people install something. What could go wrong? Unmanaged software poses a great risk somewhere down the line, and we will discuss exactly what kind. So, the basics. To get the software asset management going, what you need is a team and a tool. Whether you are a small company and you only have one IT guy that takes care of everything, or you have a professional team of some specialists because you are a big corporation, ensure that your folks are trained and competent. Even though many may think SAM is unimportant for small businesses, I can share with you how my software asset management skills came in handy when my mother's company of 3 employees had to upgrade their hardware and software last year, and I could explain straight out of the bat on how Microsoft licenses their Windows Server solution, how many client access licenses or terminal server licenses is she going to need. Alright, so let's move on. The following is mainly true for the bigger SAM solutions in big companies, but having an SAM tool is also crucial. There is a certain point after which manually managing the software portfolio becomes too taxing, and that is exactly where the SAM tools come into play. There are several options to choose from. I'm not going to detail them here. Whether you pick ServiceNow or you go with the Flexen solution, it always comes down to the individual needs, but make sure that you properly evaluate all of this ahead in time. Software can sometimes feel like a weird commodity. You know, it is very expensive, it is potentially also very dangerous. Yet, since it's not something that you can actually directly see as making money, as making revenue for you, it's very easy to fall into the trap of not thinking of it as something important to watch for. And yes, the wake-up call almost always comes in the form of a software audit and a potential hefty fines. So remember, prevention is always better than cure. So let's make sure we think ahead instead of having to deal with the dangerous consequences. What are some of the key SAM advantages? Let's dive deep into some of those and see how they can help with your SAM solution. The following 6 points are what Adient based our SAM solution off of and is what helped us showcase the importance of software asset management to our leadership. The first is the most obvious: cost optimization. If you are trying to convince your leadership of the importance of software asset management, there is no better argument than cost optimization. Let's be honest, every top leader, our leadership loves to hear ideas on how to reduce cost, and software makes a significant portion of IT spend in every company. Software asset management helps us here by mitigating over-license positions and allows us to reduce license accordingly. Number 2, risk. Software audits. This is the twin sibling to cost optimization, and we call it software compliance. Ensuring that your software is always compliant with what you purchase minimizes or even completely removes the risk of having to worry about the software audit. The projection for software audits is on an increasing curve. Software vendors are looking for ways to get more money out of all of us. Number 3, risk, legal and regulatory. This is the third sibling of the family and ensures that you are compliant with all the legal and regulatory requirements your software vendors might have. And once again, it also helps you protect against having to pay unnecessary fines. Number 4, another big point, security. Security is being spelled more and more in today's corporate IT world. Information security is important. It helps you protect your data. Software asset management helps to exercise control over applications allowed to run on company hardware, and also helps to centralize control over potential security risks created by unwanted application installations. Number 5, organizational governance. Software asset management helps us to remain compliant with industry standards and eliminate risk from potential legal disputes that you may have to face. And last but not least, software asset management is also closely tied with the hardware asset management. SAM helps us reallocate or reduce software after hardware movement, hardware decommission, hardware changes. SAM also ensures there is always someone knowledgeable to check on all the diverse and complex licensing models that you may face for your software where hardware is also involved. You know, whether you are looking at the PVU counts that IBM uses, you need to calculate your cores for all of your hardware, for your Microsoft licensing, for your SQLs, for your Oracle databases. It's key to keep the hardware asset management up to date. So, what are the key software asset management requirements? In this slide, I actually opted to just showcase more of an Adient experience while evolving our software asset management solutions, instead of maybe just showcasing the best business practices, which you can Google in a couple of minutes. So, what did we actually find were the key requirements for our SM solution? Number 1, software strategy. This one is pretty self-explanatory. It's absolutely crucial that the software strategy is internally agreed within the company and that it's agreed on every management level, all the way from your top leadership to the bottom, to the regular users or your regular IT support guys who will be running, installing, using the software. People need to be aligned on what the requirements on the software are, how do we define them, how to process software purchases correctly. There is really nothing worse than people running wide and purchasing applications just because they feel they need them. And the need may be real, it just needs to be evaluated correctly. Second key topic that we had to implement is what I call a privilege. The SAM team, and for it to be even remotely successful, they need to have the right to evaluate software purchases. In Adient, the software asset managers actually do evaluate every single software purchase during the purchase requisition approval flow. While this may seem taxing in the beginning, it is, I don't want to say great way, it's maybe the only way to ensure that all your software is properly cataloged and all the purchases are actually challenged, whether they are required. Number 3 is a relationship. I already mentioned this in the beginning when quoting Mr. Ford. Since the software asset management team is heavily involved with many different levels within your organization, whether it's your purchasing department, your legal department, the business owners, the users of the applications, the application owners from the IT perspective, I strongly recommend that you maintain the best working relationship that you can. and that the team's role is also understood on every level. It's really crucial, because without a good working relationship, it just makes it harder for everybody involved. Last but not least, again, asset data. For software asset management to be successful, it needs to rely on proper asset data. The SAM team department itself is responsible for correctly gathering and cataloging all of the software data, but as I mentioned earlier, since the measurement is also targeting your devices, your servers, your computers, your virtual machine hosts, your data clusters, it is imperative that the company has up-to-date hardware data as well. There is nothing more dangerous than having a hidden, missed, unscanned server that contains a large sum of very expensive software. It can always happen, so be careful about it. Topic number 2, which I call in my presentation reactive to proactive. Ensure you use the right way to approach your software asset management. What I mean by this, I think it's pretty easy to figure it out, and it's how Adient has worked its way from the beginning of its SAM solution to a more refined approach that we have now. And the two key things are reactive software asset management, where we only react after the software is purchased, and we mainly reconcile the licenses and try to stay compliant, work on the cost effectiveness and optimization. And proactive, where we plan ahead. The software asset management team is engaged prior to the software purchases being made. I can imagine that many of you face the situation where you get frustrated with the seemingly endless issues that you have to face, where you sit down and you wonder how easily some of this mess could have been avoided if only people got together and talked beforehand. And we will get to this and what to do about this. But first thing first. Reactive software asset management. The first iteration of an SAM implementation within your company will be most likely a reactive one. Unless you're building or starting a company from scratch, you are usually jumping in workflow process that are already established and the company is running. So to get the SAM going, the easiest way to just start with the reactive solution. It's still much better than having no SAM at all, I mean, obviously. And there are also situations where a proactive approach is simply not realistic. You may be facing a situation where there is a requirement for an immediate solution. There is no time to plan for it or overanalyze it. A purchase has been made. Even in this case, make sure you don't forget to react. So, what the software asset management team ensures while being reactive. Each software purchase has to be properly evaluated and cataloged. This is just a must. You may only be inserted in the middle of the purchasing process, but you need to do the evaluation, and if you don't feel you can make an informed decision and you are forced to approve the purchase, still make sure that you catalog it and that you input all the data into your SAM tool. Number 2, software that is already owned needs to be properly distributed to avoid compliance issues, to make sure that you are optimized. All the compliance issues that you discover are resolved, are being remediated. Solution is provided to all the teams that are involved. Cost saving opportunities. Again, they need to be periodically identified, evaluated. It's nothing worse than the company losing money because you are not targeting and reviewing the software portfolio correctly. This is the complete basic that will help you ensure that you maintain most of the key SAM advantages which we already discussed. Compliance, optimization, minimizing risk, keeping assets up to date. Proactive software asset management. So within a proactive software asset management solutions, all the inputs required are engaged ahead in time to analyze the software purchase. All the involved teams, people present their angles, which are taken into consideration. They are analyzed, they are evaluated, and a decision is made. These key players, and I already mentioned them, involve the purchasing department, analyzing the suitable vendor options, suitable cost options, maybe suitable alternatives where to purchase, going through a reseller, etc. Legal department, analysis on all the legal implications and obligations that may come going through the purchase, with signing a contract. Engaging the business owners, where the business is showcasing the requirement of the new purchase. Engaging your IT department. SAM is part of the IT, but I mean more of everybody from IT that will be involved in actually implementing the purchase software into your current infrastructure. Are there any obstacles that they may provide that you don't even know about? So, what does this help us achieve? Well, first and foremost, there is always the discussion of the business requirement. Does your company actually require the software that the requester is trying to purchase? If the requirement is proved and agreed upon, maybe there exists an alternative. Maybe an alternative that your company already owns, and you will be able to save money. In today's world, especially with the core corporate applications coming from the key players such as Microsoft, IBM, Oracle, VMware, Adobe, there is always a viable alternative solution, and it's imperative that you engage the discussion here. You may be looking at substantial cost savings. What about an extension of an already owned software? Here is where the various software asset management or other tracking tools, hint OpenLM for engineering, come into play. SAM teams should always evaluate, analyze, and present utilization/deployment data if it's applicable to showcase and support an informed decision. So whether we are offering an alternative, we are backing up, or trying to decline a purchase, we are always working towards making the company more efficient in its software spend. Adient lessons learned. What are the lessons that learned by Adient? And again, this is not something that you maybe find on the internet, is more of the best practices that we gathered over the years. So first and foremost, as I already mentioned, be proactive as much as possible. It's a good way to save time, it's a good way to save money, it's a good way to prevent extra effort. When you can't be proactive, make sure you at least react. Don't let the purchase, unlicensed installation, uncataloged server slip through your fingers. You are looking at an issue somewhere down the line. Be smart. Make sure you blend both the worlds using your common sense. As I said, not always a proactive solution is the best one. Not always there is time to have it, but even if you can't, react. Be resourceful. We live in a world that is full of options, full of alternatives. Don't ever get complacent, don't ever think the work is done. There is always a way to improve, there is always a way to optimize, there is always a functionality overlap that you can exploit. Now, I hope I don't offend the users, our customers, but I can imagine most of you witnessed the situation many times. You give the user option. If you give it to them, which choice are they going to pick? Are they going with the Acrobat Standard or Acrobat Professional? Are they going to deploy SQL Standard, or are they going to deploy SQL Enterprise? It is in our nature that we try to get the perceived better, more advanced solution, even though we maybe don't even require it. Now, onwards to the main topic at hand. We are, after all, at an engineering license conference. So, engineering software, engineering licenses, and how to implement them within your SAM solution. First, let's define some terms, since this is from Adient's point of view, and maybe your company is defining these terms differently. How Adient defines engineers? Who are they and what tools they use? So, our engineers are primary users of our PLM, CAD, CAE, TRIM, industrial design, and other various applications. We are looking at a complete software portfolio, starting with the Teamcenter, CATIA, NX, ANSA, HyperWorks, LS-DYNA. We do utilize complete Autodesk portfolio. We do utilize complete Adobe portfolio. We utilize SolidWorks. I mean, you name the engineering software, and we probably have or had in the past at least one user who was utilizing it. Making sure that all of this application portfolio is properly managed and properly utilized is not a small task, and OpenLM has been a great help in here. So, what is so specific about engineering applications? Well, they usually utilize different licensing models compared to the standard corporate IT applications such as Microsoft, IBM, or Oracle, where the above-mentioned vendors usually provide with an enterprise-level contracts that are subject to periodical true-ups. The engineering licensing models are usually more strictly on a concurrent, floating, or a named user basis. As such, different license metrics are required to achieve your software asset management goals. Make no mistake though, even though oftentimes smaller than IT contracts, engineering contracts are equally as important and sometimes are criminally overlooked within your SAM solution. Because uh, even though there are some key differences, there are also some similar goals to work toward from an SAM perspective. So, what's different? What is different when approaching the management of engineering licenses? Well, for starters, as I mentioned, the licensing systems are usually hard-coded to not allow using more than what you pay for. Whether you are looking at a Siemens monthly name-based users for Teamcenter or concurrent floating licenses for CATIA, you won't be able to usually use more than you purchase, since the license manager technology is built so it doesn't allow it. This may create a false sense of security when discussing compliance as a software asset manager. And even though indeed the danger is smaller than maybe facing a Microsoft or IBM audit, it's still there. And there are ways, there are options, there are things that you need to be careful about. What I'm hinting at here is the usage scope of the licenses. From our experience, every software manufacturer or software vendor that provides engineering applications has this as a key practice. Majority of the engineering licenses are issued with a clearly defined usage scope, whether it's a countrywide, it's region-wide, or something similar. There are truly global licenses, but they are rare and usually quite expensive. We are seeing a shift into globalization since it's more effective. So make sure that you build your infrastructure properly to minimize unauthorized license usage. If your budget allows it, you may try to push for global licenses. Their overall equipment effectiveness is by far the highest. So some examples. Let's say you do have a CATIA license in Germany with an in-country usage scope. Even if your engineers are hardworking, you're getting maybe 10 to 12-hour daily rate of your license. With a global license and the proper infrastructure, you may actually achieve something close to a 24-hour rate on the license as a global company. Like let's use Adient again as an example, and CATIA since it's the most widespread solution or annex. With a global license, you can have a license that's being utilized for almost 24 hours because it can start with your Japan engineers, then you can move on towards your China, your India, then Europe comes into place, and last but not least, North America. One license, almost 24-hour usage, great effectiveness rate. Nothing looks better than when you're showcasing something to your management and you can say, look, this is actually 100% utilized. They really love that. What's similar? So, what is similar for managing engineering applications compared to the corporate IT contracts? Well, same as with the above mentioned core IT applications, there is a great overlap in functionality. While it's highly likely that the bigger the company, the more diversified your application portfolio is, this does not mean that as a software asset manager, you should not be on the lookout to offer the alternatives whenever possible. Maybe you can get Annex instead of CATIA. Maybe you need both, but you can get one cheaper in one country and the other license cheaper in another country. As I already showcased, analyzing and using common sense goes a long way in here as well. Cost optimization is always based on eliminating, reducing overlapping functions, and perfect utilization analysis can save your company a lot of money. So, why OpenLM? Adient's experience. Why did we choose it? What did we learn? As I already mentioned, Adient does have a crazy high diversity amongst its engineering license software portfolio, and OpenLM is a great tool that offers great support to all the various license managers that we use. Whether it's FlexLM, Dassault License Manager, BetaLM, LSDyna, LMX, OpenLM can track all of it. And as much as I would like to see one global license standard, I don't think we will ever see it. And OpenLM just it's the best solution to track all the different engineering licenses. It's been also instrumental in helping Adient consolidate our engineering software portfolio and gain total control over it. I said at the beginning that I'm also responsible for doing the software renewals for all the engineering applications. Whenever a renewal is coming up, I just go to OpenLM. I do a utilization report, I do a utilization analysis, and it helps me provide data to my business partners internally within Adient so we can make an informed decision. I'll be honest, guys, I can't wait to see what you actually come next, how you are going to expand the tool. So I've been talking for quite a while now, and just a quick summary before the end. Remember, software asset management should be a key player in any company. It will help you minimize the risk of having to pay settlement for non-compliance, and it is also crucial in saving money by optimizing the software license portfolio. Thank you very much for listening. My name is Branislav Potoček, and I can't wait to hear your questions on the Q&A.